Hey everybody, this is JerryNines coming at you with a video. You might be saying, man, what's up with that clickbaity title? But let's just go ahead and get started and let me explain myself. So a few months ago, I decided that I was going to treat myself and I was going to buy a Wilson Combat EDC-X9 pistol. I'd read about them when they first came out. I thought they were insanely expensive, but they looked really cool. I have some experience with Wilson Combat handguns. I've never owned one before, but I have used other folks and I've always been really impressed. So I went on to Wilson Combat and I started looking around and I found the pistol that I really believed was right for me. And what that was is what I have right here in front of me. And really quickly, we'll go ahead and show you that we have no magazine. And in fact, we'll visually and physically inspect. So this is my brand new Wilson Combat SFX9. So the SFX9 is simply the EDC X9? I don't know. It's their EDC X9. But instead of it having their cool X frame that has the grip panels that don't have any screws, they're held in from some alchemy. The SFX stands for solid frame X series pistol, and it is actually milled out of one hunk of aluminum. What that means is that all the patterning, all the grips are machined in, and it really makes the gun very, very slim. In fact, this feels like a single stack 1911 in my hands, but yet I have 15 rounds in the magazine. So like I said, I called up Wilson Combat and I asked a bunch of questions. Unfortunately, not enough. You'll see what I'm talking about in a minute. And I went ahead and got this gun ordered. It took, I think it took about 4.5 months for them to get it to me. And they were really, really cool to work with throughout the entire thing. So here's what we have right now. Wilson Combat SFX9. I have the 15 round frame. They actually make a subcompact 10 round frame that is kind of cut off right here. And the 15 round frame does come, you don't have a choice in this, it comes with the rail. And then what I did is, so here's the process. You call these folks up and they'll write the order up and they'll ask you a bunch of questions. You can also go on their website and just click and select everything. But in my case, there was a small amount of real customization I wanted done. So I just wound up putting in the order on the phone, talking to one of their folks. And one of the questions that came up was, what about a base plate or cut for a red dot optic? And at first I said, nah, I don't want to do that. And the reasoning was I don't use a red dot optic on my pistols, especially a carry pistol. Not that I have anything against it. It's just not something I do right now. But then I thought, maybe I should because I'm getting a little older. The eyes aren't what they used to be. And red dot optics are a way to continue on with the handgun without having to change anything up here, LASIK or anything like that. So I was like, yeah, you know what? Go ahead and mill the slide for that red dot optics plate. The guy said, we have 3 different base plate patterns that we use. I said RMR because, quite frankly, I thought that the red dot sights that I own and wanted to continue to buy were RMR footprints. Those, by the way, are the Vortex Venom and Viper sights, and it turns out they are not the RMR footprint. So that's going to lead us into a little bit about what's going on here. Again, we do have our base plate on the pre-milled slide. Additionally, they asked me the question. They said, do you want your sights to co-witness? And I said, yes. And so we have these kind of suppressor height sights on there. But here's where I'm a little bit, I guess disappointed might be a strong word because I'll get around this. But so first of all, this is the EDC line of pistols. EDC, everyday carry. And when I looked at this initially, I was a little put off because you can see the RMR base plate actually extends beyond the original width of the slide. And I was like, well, that's not really cool because, when you conceal, it's all about being as concealable as possible. So I was a little bummed out. But then what I did was this. I actually looked from the top down and I realized that we do have some control levers. We have a safety, we have a slide release, and really this doesn't add any width to the overall, the widest point of the pistol. I still think this probably potentially corrupts concealability to some degree, but I'm kind of getting over it. The other thing is that with this base plate and with these co-witness sights, the rear sight is part of this base plate. So if I were to take the base plate off, I lose the rear sight as well. So that's something that if you are working with Wilson Combat, you should be aware and make sure you ask a bunch of questions. With that, I got the gun in, I looked at it, I reacted to it, and I said, all right, well, this is not ideal, but let me go ahead and get on and order a new Vortex Viper sight for this handgun. And the day that I got the shipping notification for that new sight, which is today, I also realized through the research I should have done before that in fact the Vortex sights do not use the RMR footprint. What that means is that I have to now go and find an RMR footprint compatible red dot sight so that I can go ahead and mount it on this pistol. If I want to cover up this relatively ugly base plate, and that's kind of what's driving this whole thing. I could go ahead and I could shoot this gun without putting a red dot sight on there, and in fact, I will do that. I haven't fired this yet. I just got it a couple days ago, but I don't like that look. It just kind of looks unfinished with that base plate on there. And you know what? Aesthetics do play a big part. My son looked at the gun. He's like, I don't know. I think it looks kind of cool with that exposed base plate like that. Maybe it has sort of an industrial or a machine age aesthetic to it. But again, for me, I'm just not loving the fact that it's adding width to my slide and it's not doing anything. And really, to me, that's even more important than aesthetics, is if I'm giving up something, in this case, the width on the most concealable or the most prone to be spotted while trying to conceal, that part that's sticking out of the holster. If I'm going to give up something here, I want to get something for it. In that case, that would be the red dot sight. So that's kind of where I am. With that, and since we're talking about aesthetics, let me tell you that everything else about this gun it's perfect. I am super, super impressed. I'm super impressed with Wilson in terms of their customer service. I'm super impressed with Wilson in terms of me calling up and asking a million questions. I should have asked 1,000,002, but I asked 1,000,000, and they answered all of them. They were like, hey, call us back. You have any problems? We're here to help, and we want you to be happy. But everything on this gun is just perfectly done. I mean, so far, I don't have anything that I've looked at, and I have any concern in terms of operations. Everything is slick and smooth. I mean, it really is an impressive gun. And then if we go ahead and if we dry fire, we get, man, just a glass rod breaking trigger. And then if we reset, the reset on this, and I don't know if you'll be able to hear it as we see it, but the reset, you know what? Let me actually see if you can keep an eye on the trigger itself. I mean, there's your reset, and then there is no take up. As I said, I haven't shot this gun yet, but I am super excited to do so, and super excited to integrate this into, my gun collection and my EDC rotation. When I say EDC rotation, by the way, I'm not a big fan of having 19 different guns that I put on for different days of the week. If I can get this gun to run and hit like I want it to, then it could very easily become my primary EDC gun for defensive carry. You know, there is something going on with this Wilson Combat gun, and, you know, some of this could be, you know, confirmation bias. I mean, I just went out and I spent, you know, a lot of money on a pistol, but I got to tell you, you know, even when I was kind of not digging it that first day, getting it and checking this out and not getting the answers that I wanted from Wilson in terms of could this go away and, you know, anything else, I was messing around with the gun, and I mean, it just seems like everything just really goes together very well. The ergos on it, I mean, even the way that it lines up in my hands. I have another Commander size 1911, and quite honestly, trying to compare the two, this one just feels better. And again, that could be because I know I spent a bunch of money on it, but everything about this just seems to come together really, really well, and it presents itself as a truly classy gun. Another thing, I called up Wilson and I said, when I was researching before I put in this order, and I said, you know what? I want this gun to be sort of a lefty specific gun. And for me, that means putting on an ambidextrous safety and then grinding off the safety lever that the right hand thumb would use. Again, you know, just because I'm a lefty and I'm kind of a geek about these things. At first, Wilson Combat was really hesitant to enter into any conversations that hinged on or talked about modifying a safety. However, they listened, and when I got on the phone with the right person who could make this decision, or at least start that process of making the decision, I explained that I wasn't asking them to actually modify a safety so much as to just cut off a piece of inert metal. And we worked together. I took some photos and kind of modified them, you know, just by cutting out some stuff and showing them what I was interested in. And finally we got to a place where they were like, yeah, we talked to the shop and we can do that. And you might notice that we have, I mean, and this is probably a good thing, and in fact, it certainly is a good thing. I still do have a safety that I can manipulate with my right hand, because if you watch my other videos, you know that, you know, you may not have your primary hand, but you'll also notice that all the meat is up here for the left-hand thumb, but we still do have enough here to get to work. Is this going to really help me at all in terms of concealability, in terms of handleability? Probably not, but you know what? It's something that makes the gun a little bit more mine, and I'm really happy to have it. So with that, the reason for the title of this article, or the title of this video, is, you know, my new Wilson SFX9, Let the Buyer Beware, is not trying to fool you into thinking that there's something wrong here so much as there's something wrong here, and more importantly here. Educate yourself when you're going to be going and talking to people who are going to basically allow you a lot of different options. Make sure that you know what it is that they're talking about. Make sure you know what it is that they're offering you. I was excited. I was talking to the guy. We had just gotten over the safety lever bauble, and I was excited to get the order in. I wish I'd waited a little bit and said, hey, you know, what exactly does that base plate do? Can I take it off and run the gun? Things like that. So be a little critical, and you probably won't wind up being even mildly disappointed. And that's all I am, is mildly disappointed. I do want to talk really, really quickly about, I did ask Wilson, I said, hey, you know, what can I do? You know, I know I can't take this base plate off because the rear sight comes with it. Is there a dovetail under there that I could put another rear sight on? They said no. All that's milled off, and they mill it for the plate. They said really the only thing that you could do is you could either buy a second gun, or they said, we can build you a whole new top end. You would then have two top ends. You have one for red dot sights and one that is sort of more stock and out of the box. And you know what? As impressed as I am with this, and even though that's a lot of money, and I don't have a lot of money, that's something I might actually do in the future. I don't know. Maybe it seems kind of silly. I'd like to have them price it out, but that actually seems like it might be an option just because of how nice this thing is. So with that, the next time you see this, I promise on my channel, we will be shooting it, and we're going to take you through, just like I did with my Springfield SA35, we're going to take you through all the rounds together. We're going to show everything good or bad with it, And with that, I'm JerryNines. Down below, and like and subscribe and all that other stuff. There are ways that you can help support the channel through Patreon and buy me a coffee and all that other good stuff. But no matter what, just I hope that you enjoy the video. Just let's stay safe out there, and as always, God bless America. Thanks.